Welcome back to Hearts of Iron 3, especially requested by Eugene Tonic. Not just kidding. As I said, I'm trying to finish the Axis Italy campaign on very hard with the HPP mod during my holiday, which lasts another couple of days. So I'm gonna have to push it forward. I can report that we conquered Persia and made it a puppet in the Axis. Have some smaller successes to report along the Caspian Sea, although it remains to be seen how long we will be able to hold on to those. We have the Italian army of the Caspian Sea fighting under General Frattini. I said that I would promote a few people, generals responsible for the successes here. In other news, in Africa, things are not looking too terrible. We've actually pretty much recovered all our losses. Maybe we can push further now. We have repelled the repeated... Yeah, now you don't get to riot, Eugene Tonic. Isn't that sad? Yeah, so we have repelled the allied attacks, particularly around Beja, and we're still trying to exploit weaknesses in the allied front in Congo. See about that. Now I have to be careful because I'm playing a different game, different hotkeys from yesterday. I think I'm still kind of trying to use the Black Sea keys. I think I'll get right back into it. And the other success is that we're finally able to build up some forces in metropolitan Italy. As for the Eastern Front, we had some limited success over, I would say, the past 6 in-game months. We were able to make some very minor territorial gains, namely Krivi is now under Axis control, but we're still not entirely in control of the entire western shore, the Dnieper River. By the way, Black Sea campaign that I featured yesterday on these channels was taking place somewhere around here, to the west, to the east of Dnipropetrovsk. Obviously, about 60, around 75 years later, I want to say, and a fictional conflict between the Ukraine, Russia, and well, Ukraine and NATO on one side and Russia on the other side. Anyway, that's not really part of today's subject, so get on with it. I think I'm just gonna go it on pause. We're moving a few 4 HQs over to the west in Africa to have all attached divisions in range of their HQs. That's going on. What's going on? Let's do a quick overview. Yeah, we're for the most part training ground forces, infantry, mountain infantry, mechanized infantry. We're building up on a very small scale some industrial capacity, and we have 2 cruisers under for outfitting. Basically, they should be ready by early spring of next year. That's pretty much it. Most of it is ground forces right now. Running into a British division under Belgian command. Again. Here. Let's see if we can deploy some support. Meanwhile, our interceptors are busy over northern Italy. I think I'll rebase some fighters. Oh, okay, so some Jordan interceptors are based in Torino. That's interesting. Oh yeah, and there is Persia. I kind of forgot about it. Not really, but yeah. We have pushing Indian troops away. Creating a buffer zone, so to speak. In eastern Persia. Yeah, Congo was an interesting battlefield. Because I think the safety of the southern frontier was basically on a knife's edge. We had a lot of, I think you can still see it, we had a lot of divisions almost completely exhausted at one point or another. Had to retreat quite quickly in extremely bad terrain. And there was at one point there was a danger of about 8 divisions getting cut off here west of Lake Victoria. I started an emergency construction program which is still ongoing, but almost completed now. This province of Jinja only had one level of infrastructure, which wouldn't have been enough to ship any supplies through or to retreat further towards the north without losing those divisions to the Allies. So all the other divisions that didn't get cut off, they really had to give their everything they had basically to save those trapped divisions. And I even had to ship in extra divisions from other theaters to do that. Speaking of shipping in, we are shipping in extra troops to Persia. For now they're all going north. Frattini's army needs to be strengthened if we are to hold and actually achieve something with this army here. We'll need more troops. So every regiment basically that I can afford to send north into the southern Caucasus is actually going there. Looking at the damage, 5th submarine squadron took some damage off the coast of Sri Lanka. Also climbing back up with the number of spies. We were down at a low of about 2, which gave us a lot of problems, particularly in terms of national unity. That's going to take some time. I see that my interceptors are doing a good job in the north of Italy. Unfortunately, I have the interface bug. Some information disappears. Sometimes it stops immediately, not this time. Sometimes that means I have to restart the game. What I wanted here is Iraq to support this attack, but what they're doing instead is they're moving troops in Tehran. Would have liked them to attack out of Tehran. The upside, 19th Division will soon occupy Sari. Then maybe we can push this Soviet militia. Soviet Union is raising a lot of militia right now. As is Japan, coincidentally, because Japan is being invaded by the United States in this alternative timeline. This is the newly formed 23rd Division. Now have a total of 2 divisions in the north of Italy. Would like to have about around 8 divisions in Italy. The minimum that I need. Glad to see that the message bug is stopped momentarily. Oh yeah, in the last period, we triggered the extended draft for Italy, but the manpower is still falling. Maybe not quite as fast, but still pretty steeply falling. So, not sure. Or how to proceed from here. Apparently we will be able to push 146th Soviet Infantry Division away from Baku. Fourth Mountain Infantry Division had to retreat. I think I need to recall carrier group. Otherwise they will get destroyed completely. A lot of British planes stationed in Karachi. Apparently we have Soviet trade raiders operating coast of Italy. Let's create a small flotilla to hunt enemy trade raiders. How many divisions are we going to invest in Caucasus, and are the Soviet redeploying our attack? So right now I formed a new theater HQ, which is here now in Tehran. Basically it's separated from the African theater because I consider those now too far apart geographically. And if we hover mouse over here, we can see that we have a total of 20 divisions in Persia. And deployed towards the north, right now we have a total of 5 divisions only. Which is very little. There is one corps that even only has 1 division under its command right now, because that's actually 8th division that was given to 6th Corps to clear the Caspian Sea coast, the southern coast here. This division used to be part of Frattini's army. So that's very little. But what we have underway is, I believe, 3 regiments of infantry. Freshly trained, not very experienced. And then we have 1 division, 16th division, but it doesn't have any support. And one division, 30th division Sabauda, is going to the northern front in Persia. But that means for Frattini's army, that's a total reinforcement of 5 regiments right now. Which, without support, is not terribly much, but it's better than nothing. And it is what I could scramble immediately. I am training support brigades in mainland Italy. The question is, maybe I should consider detaching support regiments from back home. I kind of don't want to do that. I want to weaken the home defenses any further. Yeah, so I think for the time being, we can only use those regiments to reinforce other divisions. I think 1 regiment will be attached to 16th division since it doesn't have any support. So at least it'll have 3 regiments of infantry, and then I have 4 regiments of infantry. Wait, no, then I have 2 regiments of infantry remaining. And I think... It will probably be added, one regiment will be added to the 4th Mountain Infantry Division. Of course, it's not a mountain infantry regiment, but at least it's an additional infantry regiment. And one regiment will be attached to 12th Division. So the 12th Division has 3 regiments. And then we have only 6th Division, which doesn't have 3 regiments, but 6th Division has a assault battalion, which gives it some additional fighting power. That's the general idea. And to your second question, are the Soviet redeploying to our attack? Yes, I think so. At one point, about maybe a month back in game, we were holding this line here along the river, whose name I forgot again. Might be the Aras River. Not sure though. And there was actually, I think there was only one militia division in Baku, and that was it. There was nothing else. So, and I think I saw some divisions retreating here. Same way I see them now moving over here. So I decided to, or Fratini maybe, decided to push back into what is today Armenia and Azerbaijan. So that's where we are, right? But I think, yeah, so I see 3 divisions here, I see mountain infantry here, I see 1 infantry division here, I see some HQs. I think overall the Soviets are trying to put up a small force, put a small force together here to stop the Italian incursion. Space Batumi, that's South Africa trading with the Soviet Union. Strategic bombing in Torino. Okay. I used to have a submarine flotilla in the Black Sea. Trade rating. Use a small cruiser squadron from Alexandria to trade raid. I would like to prevent the Soviet Union from trading with South Africa, at least through the Black Sea. RIC is taking some damage as a result of British strategic bombers. Where are the heavy fighters? I think the heavy fighters probably return to Italy to protect our IC. And for ground attack, we will use our squadrons and air fleets. I really wonder what's here. Soviet submarines. Since 19th Division is in position, attack Chalus, former Persian territory. The idea is of course to drive the Soviets out of our north flank, which will free about 4 to 5 divisions we can use elsewhere. And I think the most valuable player so far in the Persian campaign is probably 5th Light Armor Division. The past half year their organization has never exceeded, you know, about 25 to 30%. They're constantly in battle. I kind of used them as a fire brigade to put out the most worrying fires on any front lines I had in Persia. Very capable division. now under attack by 4th Indian Division. We are still waiting for reinforcements. It's a shame I can't see what's going on. Guess we're engaging the Soviet submarine. I hope destroyers are taken care of. Okay, Tehran should be secure after kicking out the Soviets of Chalus. We are improving our light tanks, that's wonderful. I would absolutely love to get sloped armor. That I would have to develop medium armor. Not really interested in developing that for now. I think we should improve other parts as well. Let's research better truck engines as well. Transports returning to mainland Italy. And then we have a Canadian force here. Canadian submarine. So far we are still experiencing victories. The Caucasus front. Reinforcements are still it away, but I can already tell one regiment is going to be integrated into 4th Mountain Infantry Division. And one regiment be integrated into 12th Division. Uh, 16th Division will I think they will be deployed on the east side. I know, actually in the center. Reinforce, or they will fight alongside 4th Mountain Infantry Division. I don't know about these Nepalese and Bhutanese HQs and why they are running around in occupied Persia. More importantly, why they are winning a fight if I run into them with my own HQs. They should now be fighting in enemy territory, surrounded. Let me see if I can air supply. I should, no, too far away. Be able to get enough supplies in. Division should reorganize eventually. I think what I can do now is I can take priority off of this army group. We can prioritize this HQ reinforcement, so we'll get enough manpower. Cool. Battle of Saona is won. Once more, 5th Light Armor Division. Today, defense. Thinking maybe we should try to cut off the retreating Indian cavalry. One less division to deal with. First Army under Pintor also receiving 2 regiments. Venezuela wants to buy supplies from us. We will accept this, as we're producing a lot of supplies at the moment. There have been times where we have been down to, I want to say, about 5,000 supplies. I'm wondering whether we should production. An attack on 12th Division across the river. Be easy enough to defend. Only a small counterattack. Concentrate 4th Bomber Command on the western portion of the front. Sixth Division arrived. See if it can help with the defense. Honduras wants to buy supplies as well. Let's accept. I think we now have the possibility of capturing Cavalry Division. When is it? The 1st Indian Cavalry Division. Going to redirect 6th CCNN Division. I want to catch this Cavalry Division. I think I'm going to retreat this division to the river. Okay. back. They will take measly, but I don't think they will dare to cross into Iran. Canadian submarine is still patrolling here. I've caught 12 foreign spies in the last month. The retreat of 12th Division concluded. Redirect this regiment. How is there a British infantry division? I guess it's under Russian command. Strange. Must be an artifact from editing the save game. Okay, so British cavalry, the Indian cavalry division is now trapped. Hopefully they will all go into captivity soon. Okay, it looks like the Indian cavalry division has been destroyed as well. We'll let division reorganize and rest a bit. Then eventually it will deploy north, and we will go around the source of this river basically. And hopefully be able to secure this river shore as a next for the next step. I'm not sure which way to push and whether to push into India, but to be honest, we have second Italian army of the Middle East here, and it's actually a pretty good army under General Zingales. 5 divisions. Pretty good commanders. Capable army for sure. Soviets are defending with fighters over the Caucasus. The 18th Division has also arrived on the front lines. Which means we will shortly be able to increase its size to 3 regiments of infantry. The 30th Division will be dissolved. We will split its regiments amongst 1st Mountain Division and 2nd Libyan Division. Unfortunately, this attack is going nowhere. Let's cancel it for the time being. Another attack on Beja. Think it's going anywhere. Light tank armor has improved. That's wonderful. At the next level of light tank reliability. We have improved submarine engines. We'll keep researching those. Manpower is falling fast. About a month ago we were 430. So we lose about 25 manpower per month. Check in on Japan. The main islands is pretty much entirely conquered. Our surrender is immediate, and I think my prediction from last time holds true. I think the last time was at the end of November in game, and I said they would surrender within the next couple of weeks. I think I even said around 8 weeks. Pretty sure they will surrender before the end of January. This rate. Then whatever Japan has left, even on the mainland, China will collapse. Probably the Republic of China Nanjing will collapse. China will come into existence as an independent nation, probably in full control of its territory. I'm not sure what's going to happen. There might a civil war break out with some neighboring. Well, I don't think so actually, because they are the smaller Chinese nations are in the allies. I'm not sure. Maybe allies I remember before I was streaming HPP, I was already playing HPP, and I remember playing a game as Communist China. And I think we defeated Japan, and then civil war broke out among various Chinese nations, and because I was not in the Allies, I think I ended up being at war with the Allies after Japan was defeated as Communist China. That was pretty hilarious. Lovely times. Still overproducing this light mark. Don't think I'm going to expand production. Will replace the convoys production though. Build up my convoy fleet to plan for any eventualities. Now we can try to retake. Our front line is still pretty thin. Division here to cover the center, the western part of the Caucasus front. Suppose technically we could try to regain Measley. And then we might end up having one division per province. We also can take control of Ascaron. It's interesting. We have an advantage in the battle with by attacking with a fresh division that doesn't even have support. Now the other divisions that do have support are only in reserve right now. And as soon as they will be called in, there's a fairly low skilled general as well. Some convoy is finished. Start the production of one immediately. Japan should be about to capitulate. Only parts of Hokkaido are still unoccupied. Most of their fleet still sits in the smallest naval base they have under control. I had to blow my nose. I'm not sure what I clicked here. We are looking at this. I don't see any enemy troops here. If that's the case, we're just going to walk in. No Indian troops defending Karachi. We haven't paid attention to this in front in a long time. More time, the Romanians decide to now deploy all their divisions south. About every 6 months or so, Romania and Hungary decide to move their troops along the entire length of the Eastern Front for reasons that completely elude me. On the other hand, so we have Romanian troops defending Finland, and we have Finnish troops across the Strait of Kerch on the Black Sea. Expect me to understand why that is. In the central part of the front, it looks like there is a small German offensive going on. Nevertheless, 3 months ago, we were on the outskirts of Bryansk front. Further north, the front has been pushed back about 60 kilometers away from Moscow. Let's try to take Bubblesar again. There is someone here, after all. Looks like we're going to take Bende, Congo. Manpower has now fallen below 400. Come on, almost there. In swoops some South African cavalry. Karachi about to be occupied. Italian troops. Saraya, good evening. I'm annoyed with the Eastern Front. There is absolutely no progress. Nice 220-kilometer buffer zone east of Persia. Fifth Naval Bomber Command will cancel its mission. Finally, we find the bugger. Hopefully we can sink him. Should be more infantry regiments. Wonderful. We just recently dissolved 30th Division. Let's call this 31st Division. First Division already tapped out, apparently. I think we're going to win this fight. Still no advance into the heart of Africa. Croatia is extending the draft. So far, as Italy, I haven't noticed any influx in recruits. Manpower is still falling. Okay, that's now 3 divisions, 2 of which have support in the north of Italy. That's about 40% of my target strength in mainland Italy. I like to have around 8 divisions. Japan still not capitulated. Happen any moment now. Oh, we're being driven out of Surrey. I did not know that. Problem. I will be able to hold much of a problem. This attack on Octiates has started, which will hopefully allow us to get 2 divisions north this river. We can have 2 divisions push along the coast. Then with the rest, maybe we can take Tbilisi and Yerevan. Maybe. Although I do see massed infantry. What's going on? We are under attack in Kashmir. Ah, I think those are rebels. Here it, I don't know if people know this, but I only noticed it recently. Actually here you can read, you can't see it on the map, you can see where a particular division is attacking from, and it says Kashmir, which is the province that we're currently occupying with the 20th vision. So to me it looks like we're trying to spring up rebels here. Motorized rebels. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Maybe we should take the time to promote a few people. Particularly in the Persian theater. Let's start on the division level. I think Conte could be a good lieutenant general for an armored corps. On the other hand, not much has happened on the Eastern Front. I think I will only promote Infante to Corps Commander. Maybe we should promote Pitosi to Field Marshal. Put Guzzoni in charge of 6th Army. There was a lot of heavy fighting going on in Central Africa. Partly due to 2nd Army. I think we'll wait. I'm not quite sure who to promote here. Finally, in the Middle East. I'll leave Ratini in command. He's doing such a good job. Maybe we can move Bulba up a level. And we can put Ito C in command of the army group. Then Bulba will replace Badoglio. I mean, I would promote Frattini any day of the week, but just doing a stellar job. Army commander in the Caucasus. So are the other two army commanders. I think Vecchiarelli should become army commander. Maras is good. In terms of division commanders, most of them will stay in command for now. Osito is doing a good job as well. Yeah, I think we'll leave it like this for the time being. Maybe we can cut off this infantry division. We have flown in Bonomi with his medium bombers. Barely anyone is selling rare material. Egypt is. Except oh, hi bot. Nice to see you. How's your day going? By the way, we shouldn't forget about the Ethiopians. I'm wondering what they are doing. Have an HQ here. 7 brigades of infantry. 3 regiments of mountain infantry. In Jinja. Regiments of militia in their capital. Sending 4 regiments of militia north. They are defending the port. Which means that I can probably pull these militia regiments. That's wonderful. We will pick those up and re-garrison ports on the Persian Gulf. We don't need them. Wait, let's see, we have... Means we have a total of 2, 4, 9 garrison or 9 militia regiments available. Need at least 4 here for those 2 ports. Don't think we have to garrison Persian ports. Persians already have light bombers. Don't have any other troop, I don't think. Some of these regiments are quite experienced. I could also rotate them home to the homelands. I think I'll return them to metropolitan Italy. Use them to protect the Italian homeland, and I'll upgrade them to infantry regiments one by one. Tiroi, good evening. I think that's how we'll do it. And still hasn't capitulated. Interestingly. And up this militia brigade as well. I think the batch of reports finished, so add the next batch. Here's an infantry division that we captured, or surrounded somewhat. Why did I do that? this division to occupy Mirpur-Kos. Wait, this Persia granting military access to the Brits. What's going on? Truce with Germany. It's next member allied with the United Kingdom. It's a puppet of United Kingdom and Kingdom of Italy. Okay, so I messed up somewhere when I was editing the save game, so I'm gonna have to change that. When I'm doing my next, which will be soon. I think I'll play until the end of the month and call it a day for today. Yeah, paying dearly. I have to prevent this division from running away. Hopefully. Okay, now back. Germany has retracted all of its Lent IC. Another attempt at landing in Malta. What are we looking at from the British? 3 destroyer flotillas, a heavy cruiser, 2 light cruisers, 2 transport. Don't even have air cover. Okay, so I think we can simply move in with our 2 battle fleets. Let's destroy the 4th Indian Division. Okay. 4th Indian Infantry Division destroyed. And I show how Germany is doing. Germany is doing. They're hanging on. Let's see. No landings. in mainland Europe or anything like that, but the Eastern Front not doing so. By the way, I did redeploy my troops here. The idea was see if we can take an additional province and not push directly towards the east. Otherwise, nope. Overall, I would say Germany is losing territory, particularly in the north. Manpower problems. Nope, no progress at all on the Russian front. I am attacking into the Caucasus, and that's going actually fairly well. I don't have a lot of reserve divisions right now. I have 1 division per province. I don't have any mass anywhere at all. If it weren't for a lot of militia divisions here, I wouldn't be making a whole lot of progress. Is. Yeah, we can try. I don't think we can deprive them of all their oil. They have oil here. I think they have other sources of oil. Yeah, they have oil here. They still have ports to trade, particularly in the east. Japan is about to capitulate. I'm really surprised they haven't yet. So the Soviet Union can buy pretty much any amount of oil from the US. The good thing is Italy controls most of the Arabic oil for the Axis, which I'm kind of surprised that it doesn't show more. I mean, would Germany be interested in buying oil from me? Would that help? I haven't asked. Using a surplus oil. They would actually buy oil. How much would they buy? Sell 20 to Germany. Five. To Hungary. Importing oil from Romania. Maybe they don't need as much. I'm actually importing oil from overseas. The Allies are kind of doing a poor job at disrupting my trade routes. I'm going to sell some of my oil to Germany. Maybe that'll help. Yeah, but the thing is, yes, my oil number is red, but Persia is an Italian puppet, Iraq is an Italian puppet, Jordan, Palestine, Egypt. And I think the only thing that I can see happening is that neutral countries trade with Saudi Arabia and Yemen. Those two countries are not in the Axis, they are not controlled by me. They sell oil to neutral countries. My submarines are not attacking those convoys because they're between neutral countries. And then those neutral countries sell their oil to allied member countries. That's the only thing I can see. So maybe I should declare war on Yemen and Saudi Arabia, but the problem is then they would probably create a lot of problems for me, and currently I don't have an army to deal with Arabia. Well, I suppose I suppose I could do an expedition to occupy Saudi Arabia and Yemen as well, and make sure that absolutely no oil is going out. I probably should consider that. Yes, when the allies try to trade directly with them, I will intercept those convoys, but if Yemen and Saudi Arabia trade with the neutral country, say with Spain, with Portugal, with Sweden, then I will not be able to intercept those convoys. Or with any Central American countries, with Cuba. And then Cuba could sell that oil to any allied country, and I couldn't do anything about it. That's my problem. Like, we're sinking a lot of those British ships, that's good. The Indian 4th Division and the Indian 1st Cavalry Division have been captured in recent weeks. Fight here is actually not looking too terrible. Maybe we can get even some support from allies. We did sink the heavy cruiser, the transports, 2 destroyer flotillas, a light cruiser, another transport, another light cruiser. I think we pretty much sank the entire fleet. Coast of Malta. So some of our own ships took damage. Not too much, but some. Have them return to front. Job is pretty much done here. I think we could also help Germany by exporting some rare materials. Right now I can't ask them for another trade deal until February 11th. So far no other Axis troops have joined the battle for Petrove, north of Kryvyi Rih. Yeah, I don't want to play on too long because I have to edit the save game. Make sure that Persia is exclusively an Axis puppet. This is weird, having these Bhutanese, Nepalese HQs and British motorized infantry in my rear. Doesn't feel good. But we'll pick up tomorrow where we left, where we're leaving off today. Yeah, the problem with Persia is that so the thing is, HPP modifies the political aspect of the game a little bit. You can tell this from looking at this the politics tab, which looks different from the original. Not only are the elements arranged differently, but also the laws are organized differently. And one of the laws is your international status. And your international status determines how much leadership you get, and it is determined by how much IC you have available. If I were to expand my total IC to 200, I could become a great industrial power, get 2 more in leadership. But the international status... Oh wait, I have to back this up, this is not correct. But the my civil laws. So my civil laws right now are legalistic restrictions. And if I were to move to repression or to a totalitarian system, I could make nations that I conquer my puppet in-game. I would have the option if I set a war goal. Well, probably not the Soviet Union, but if I attacked a smaller country like Oman, for example, when I was still at war with them, I could have set a war goal to make them a puppet. Because I don't have a totalitarian system, I can't do that in-game. But I thought, in reality, if Italy pretty much by itself would have won the... Well, actually, by itself, we didn't have any help here. We won the North African campaign, kicked the Brits out of Egypt, together with Iraq that flipped at the same time, kicked the Brits out of Palestine and Jordan. Then without any help from any Axis major, only with the help from Ethiopia, I defended Ethiopia, kicked the Brits out here, kicked the French out, and pushed the Brits all the way to Central Africa, even into Belgium. And then helped Iraq defend against Allied and Soviet attacks into Iraq, because Persia before was occupied by Brits and the Soviet Union. Pushed the Brits and the Soviets back and conquered Persia, I think, at that point. And oh yeah, in the meantime I also landed in British Yemen and in Oman and in the British Arab Emirates and in Kuwait. I did all of that without any help from any Axis major. I think it would be reasonable that Italy would create a few puppets along the way. It wouldn't be completely crazy as an idea. So I thought I'm justified in going into the save game and editing the save game so that all those countries become, well, Ethiopia was one before, but Egypt, Palestine, Transjordan, Iraq and Persia and Oman, they become puppets of Italy. But apparently I made a mistake with Persia. The other countries went fine. So you click on Transjordan, for example, it only says it's an Axis member and it's a puppet of Italy. I could call them to arms, I could give them an expeditionary force and so on and so forth. But with Persia I must have made a mistake, or I must have overlooked something in the save game. And that's why it looks weird. It says Iran is an Axis member, is allied with the United Kingdom, is a puppet of the United Kingdom and the Kingdom of Italy. Independence guaranteed by the Soviet Union. And all of that is a bit weird. It's not consistent. I'm going to have to go into the save game again to make sure that's consistent. And then I probably will not have to deal with these Allied HQs and the British motorized infantry in my rear. But I think it would be fun, like if I still kind of have this private dream that eventually one day I will create a grand strategy game myself. It would be fun if, you know, you could have things like the Allies infiltrate the rear of the country with troops that are at least somewhat of a threat, because the rebel system in Hearts of Iron 3 doesn't make the game interesting at all. Rebels are very easy to defeat. I can send 2 militia brigades and I can take out any rebel unit that pops up anywhere. The rebels are never really a challenge in as much as they would have been maybe in reality, where the German army of course had serious supply issues because of the rebels and because of the resistance movement in France and in Poland and all those countries. They're just a nuisance. They just have to keep sending units back. They will immediately win. And then life goes on. So I think the rebel system is... But I think it would be fun. I mean, the Afghanistan, for example, for the longest... I mean, India was under British control and Afghanistan for a very long time was under British influence. If all of that really happened and the Italian army would have been in Persia and Western India, wouldn't be completely crazy to think that some British secret service type operations would take place and you would have suddenly actual British troops in your rear to deal with, and that would make the game 10 times more interesting. Yeah, Persia basically have to fight themselves. I mean, that would also be realistic, right? I think if Persia was sort of sympathetic to the Axis in the beginning, the old Shah, then German attack on the Soviet Union happens, British and the Soviets get nervous about Persia, so they decide together, as it happened in reality, to occupy Persia and to make sure they can use it to transfer military production through Persia to help the Soviet defend against the German onslaught. And if then, say, Italy would have been a lot more successful and eventually kick the Allies and the Soviets out of Persia, it would be reasonable to assume that Persia would be split as a country. Some Persian citizens would maybe be in favor of aligning themselves with the Axis, and other Persians would be in favor of aligning themselves with the Allies or the Soviet Union, and that could make the game extremely interesting. You might have a civil war in Persia where we have Persians fighting alongside the Axis and joining Axis. It could be a manpower boost, it could be militia brigades popping up, Persian militia brigades being under Italian command. You could have something like the Spanish Civil War happen where the country is split in two and you have different Persian fractions fighting against each other. So many things could happen. And I think thinking about this, I think the game engine allows for something like this to happen because it does happen with Spanish state. I might have to investigate. Maybe it's possible to create such a scenario. Anyway, those are some ideas that I have. Yeah, the Germans, they are... I thought about, the last time when I went into the safe game, I thought about editing it in such a way that I would have all Romanian and Hungarian troops given to Italy as expeditionary forces. So I would still pretend that they are under Romanian command, but as a player I would control them and I would make more reasonable decisions with them. So for example, I would say that to defend Finland is a German problem, so Germany would have to take care of that. But I could control several Romanian and Hungarian armies in the south, and I could, you know, have them coordinate with my own Italian troops. We could make something happen in the south and maybe give the German AI a breather in the north. But the AI is completely incapable of doing anything. We know that from whatever version of the game we look at, for example, the way Japan fights. I've never seen Japan do anything interesting. I don't know, maybe in the vanilla game, because in the vanilla game all sorts of crazy things happen. But in HPP, unless you play Japan for yourself, Japan is weak. It always rolls over. It never lands in Singapore. It never lands in the Dutch East Indies. And right now, I mean, for the longest time, it's still the case. About 95% of the Japanese Navy are in the smallest port that the entire Japanese Empire has to offer. That's the case for at least past half a year. Maybe more, probably for the past year in-game. They're not using their navy to prevent any landings anywhere. Japan did not ferry any troops back from China to defend its mainland. Did not use... I mean, several times it was pretty close to collapsing the Chinese, but it was never able to concentrate troops in a crucial area and conduct a decisive offensive. So none of those things happen. In EU4, the AI basically eats their army into your land instead of defending their land, which actually makes the war easier. So you can pick them off one by one. Yes, exactly. I mean, because I'm thinking a lot about writing my own grand strategy game, I'm thinking about how I would implement those mechanics, like real world mechanics, into an AI. And I think, I don't know, I have no idea how they programmed the AI for Hearts of Iron 3 or for other Paradox engines. But somehow you have to make the AI... The little things that I know about AI is basically an AI is like... it's like... It's difficult to describe, but it's basically... You can train an AI to make sensible decisions, but you have to... For the AI to understand what's important, it has to be able to attribute value to something. So in this case, for example, an AI has to value the strength of troops it has at home to defend against the landing. It has to be able to attribute value to be controlling the Straits of Malacca. Because in-game, if you actually control this as a player, you will get a bonus that shows up here. Like I have my bonuses for controlling the Suez Canal and the Persian Gulf. They should show up somewhere. Yeah, we controlling the Strait of Hormuz, plus 5% money. Controlling the Suez Canal, plus 5% money. Things like that. So the AI for those AI countries in Hearts of Iron 3 doesn't... In reality, Japan had an incentive to control the Dutch East Indies for the resources. It had an incentive to control Pacific for its bases that it could use to fight the Americans far, far away from home, to have control over the Pacific lines of communications. But here, I have no idea how the AI... I don't understand what the AI is valuing. It makes no sense. Even if you have only a primitive AI, it makes no sense for the AI to have all its ships, basically, in one port that doesn't have the capacity to repair. So one simple check here should be, can this port even repair the number of damaged ships I have in it? And since... Then another check should tell the AI, okay, I have like 30 other ports that have a lot more capacity where I could send them to repair there. Exactly. Then it needs to be able to prioritize things. It needs to be able to say, okay, first and foremost, I need to be protected from the Americans. They have a huge economy. They have a huge navy. So I need to prioritize that. And then only a second priority is China. Maybe China is even only a third priority. For China is a priority, I will need to secure oil, because Japan, of course, always is struggling with oil and fuel. There are so many problems with the in-game AI. And for Germany, of course, the same. And I would say it's even observable for the allies. I mean, if I were to tag over right now, we would see that Great Britain has about 50 or 60 divisions sitting on the island here. I mean, 50 or 60 divisions is more than the entire landing was in real history, the entire Operation Overlord. I think they at the end, by winter of 1944, and the new year of 1945, they had about 30 divisions here, maybe 40, but not 60. But UK right now has 60 proper divisions sitting there. Similar things for the US. Nobody has... I mean, the Brits, every 2 months or so, they try to land in Malta. They come with a very small force, 2 or 3 divisions. They try to land in Malta. There's no way to program an AI or to run or how to launch a counter offensive. And that was, I think the British Navy is practically non-existent at this point. If we go into the overview tab here, ship sunk, owner, United States, United Kingdom. I mean, we've sunk so many ships from them. One screen has 2, 4, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 units. Okay, let's scroll down to HMS Neptune. Now we're at 32 units. And as you can see, most of those are sunk by Italy. There are 2 sunk here by Japan, 3, 4. Okay, 32 units. 12 destroyer flotilla. Another 32. There are a few more sunk by Japan. 6. No, another 16, so we're at 48. 6 sunk by Japan, 7 plus the 4 from the previous screen, maybe 11. Okay, so out of 48, 11 sunk by Japan, 37 sunk by Italy. Scroll down, Hawkins. Another 16, so we're up to 50, 64. Minus... Yeah, well, you get the picture. I mean, and the list goes on and on and on. It doesn't stop. Practically all of them sunk let's say Japan sank a third. But yeah, all of those ships sunk by, and I didn't exploit the game. I created realistically sized fleets and flotillas. You know, it's realistic to have 2 battleships, 2 heavy cruisers, 2 light cruisers, and 2 destroyer flotillas. That's not a crazy, gamey, cheating fleet. I think I'm using fair fleet compositions. So I had to, sorry, I had to scroll down the chat messages to be able to read everything. Currently, Restream's chat interface doesn't automatically scroll down to the last message. Let me read up quickly. Oh yeah, you're talking about the programming idea. Yeah. I mean, my approach would probably be to focus on the AI. I think that's what generates value for the player. If you have an interesting AI opponent, and of course it should have a decent multiplayer or a multiplayer option. But I think a strong AI is needed. So I would not focus on, you know, very pretty graphics. Although one can debate whether or not Hearts of Iron 3 is pretty. I have to say, some things are okay, but I don't know. I'm not exactly a fan of the Hearts of Iron 3 design overall. A bit too dull and brown. It's not consistent. I don't understand why. Like, so one problem I have. So they base their game on the real world, right? But so who decides that? Wait, where do I have a good example? Sometimes you have provinces that meet in an intersection. Maybe this is a good example. So from Shiraz, as you can see, I cannot attack into Komshe. Because for some reason, the province of Yasui keeps them apart. Not that the province border goes down like this, and then all of these 4 provinces meet here in the center. Yasui can attack Komshe and Yost. Komshe can attack Yasui and Yost. Yost can attack Yasui and Komshe. But Shiraz can only attack Yasui, Yost, and attack Komshe. And I very much doubt they have a justification for making the map like this. I'm not saying, I mean, it's not a problem, but I'm just saying, if you base your game on the real world, you need to have a justification for doing something like this. Because if I go and open Google Maps, look at the satellite picture of this area between these 4 regions, I'm not sure I would find that the terrain absolutely forbids troops from attacking directly north out of Shiraz towards Komshe. But you know, so I appreciate that it's difficult to make a game that replicates the real world as it was, or yeah, as it was in the 1930s and 40s. And I thought about that problem as well, and I thought that maybe you could still have an interesting game if you made it based on a map that's artificially created. where you would have an algorithm basically create a globe with oceans and lands, continents, with straits and gulfs, with peninsulas, with polar regions, with you know, separate oceans separated by groups of islands, things like that. You could have all of those things, and then that would take away a lot of the effort to research all of that. Because if I had to write a game that takes place in the real world, then I wouldn't be happy if I just had a map that's more or less randomly assembled. Because also what happens a lot, I'm interested in, so I think one of my past campaigns was playing as Germany, and I ended up conquering the Soviet Union, and then I was interested in where I was fighting. I think I was fighting a lot around here, around Kazan. There were a lot of, I had to push the Soviet Union all the way back here. They only capitulated, I think, when I took these 3 cities as well. There was a lot of fighting going on, and I was very interested in the geography of this area, so I went to Google Maps, I went to Wikipedia, I to Street View, try to find pictures from this area and to find out, you know, what's the landscape like? Is this even true? Are those really hills here, or these plains, or is this a forest or not? And then I went to check in on my own country, and I saw the map is completely wrong. There are so many mistakes here in this map. So those here, that's not hills. Those should be plains. That should be hills here. This should be hills. And this should be hills instead of plains. There's no particularly large forest here. Biggest forests in Switzerland are somewhere in the mountains. But there actually the mountains are the more dominant features. And so I found this a lot when I checked in on the maps. A lot of the map is not accurate. So all those are things that I would like to change if I would write my own game. But I appreciate that it's a lot of hard work to do all of that research and end up with the correct map. One alternative would be to automate the map generation and use real-world data. I think it is available. You could get, you know, official geographical data from publicly accessible databases. Use that data to create a real-world map. I don't know. There are several options, but yeah, it's still a dream that a little fantasy that I like to indulge from time to time. Maybe one day I'll have time to get down to it and give it a go. I think in and of itself the game idea is super interesting. Thanks, Tiroy. I appreciate it. If I get down to it, you'll be the first to know. I did some research. I have some map generating algorithms. I have some like barebone pseudocode that I could get started with. Map generation is actually an interesting aspect of algorithmic applied information technology. Pretty interesting. But if I had like 2 or 3 months of free time, I would definitely get started on it. I already have some material to start out with. The problem with artificially generated worlds is that this immersion, of course. That's the big plus of the real world map. You can immerse yourself in the idea. being an Axis field marshal or a Soviet field marshal, and or a Soviet, economic planner or military planner. What kind of divisions, what kind of regiments do I need? How big? What should my air force look like? Are we going to focus on fighters or bombers? All of those things. And in a artificially generated map, you have to put in an extra effort to have the player enjoy the same immersion. Basically, you end up having to generate not only the map, which is, I think, rather simple, a simple problem to solve. You also have to generate all the names, because you have to, you have to give your countries names in order for the player to be able to identify with them. Yeah, so there are a lot of interesting aspects to all of that. Yeah. Yeah, hopefully one day I'll get around to it. But I'm definitely low-key pursuing it. Collecting information, collecting algorithms, collecting game ideas, mechanics. Maybe one day I'll have enough of those ideas together and enough time at my hands so I can get to work. In the meantime, maybe I should look more into modding Hearts of Iron 3. Maybe a bit more can be done with modding, because I think HPP already did, like, kind of doubled the value or the fun of Hearts of Iron 3 for me in comparison to the base game. I don't know, maybe there are another 50% in there. Who knows? But I think overall, or in general, it's always better to start from scratch and to get rid of all the bad ideas. But it's a huge project. I mean, Hearts of Iron 3 was probably developed by a team of 100 developers or so. I don't know, I have no idea what the game industry looks like. Maybe only 10, but still, 10 people are developing a lot more than one person or 2 or 3 people. On the other hand, you always hear about successful hobby projects. Always exceptions. Yeah, it's definitely much better than Hearts of Iron 4, that's sure. I think they cared much more about the grand strategy genre when they created Hearts of Iron 3. When they created Hearts of Iron 4, in my view, they just wanted to exploit the success of Hearts of Iron 3. But they ended up writing a game for a completely different audience of people, with a completely different ambition in terms of immersion and quality and all of that. Yeah, shame. I think it's the same in all parts of the entertainment industry. I hear people say the same thing about movies or books and music. Problem is, if you want to make money, you have to make something that you can sell to a large audience. And a game like Hearts of Iron 3, or the original strategy and thought behind Hearts of Iron 3 is not something that appeals to a large audience. But the philosophy or the concept of Hearts of Iron 4 easily appeals to probably 10 times as many people. Which means, if you invest the same amount of programming time, you can sell a game to a large audience. And the game like Hearts of Iron 3 is not something that appeals to a large audience. But the philosophy or the concept of Hearts of Iron 4 easily appeals to probably 10 times as many people. Which means, if you invest the same amount of programming time, is to say the same amount of programmers' salaries, you can still sell your product to 10 times as many people, so you'll make more profit. And that's why you end up, in the beginning you have good product, then at the end of its life cycle you have a bad product to the aficionado. It's the same thing with movies. That's why a lot of people say modern movies are dull, boring, and, you know, too action focused in comparison to movies that were made maybe 20 or 30 years ago. Hearts of Iron 4 is the better MP game. Yeah, that's probably true. And I think with MP a lot of things change. With MP, when you have a game that's horrible in terms of AI and single player mode, can still be great in MP. I think a good example here would be Age of Empires, the early editions. I mean, a somewhat decent player would easily beat the AI in Age of Empires 20 years ago at the end of the 90s or whenever it came out. But it is a game that has a huge following now. And that following is not there because the AI improved, even though it did. But the following is there because it's immense fun to play Age of Empires against other people over the internet. So yeah, I would definitely grant Hearts of Iron 4 that it is a decent or even a good multiplayer game. About Hearts of Iron 3, I only heard that it crashes a lot when you try to play it in MP mode. Okay, so the unit management is easier. Yeah, I have to say I'm always complaining about or bad mouthing Hearts of Iron 4, but I don't even have it. I don't even play it. I'm just very judgmental, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I'm looking for different things in a game like this, I suppose. Yeah, anyway, I think I'm gonna call it a day here. I don't even know what the time is. But yeah. Have a good night, everyone. Thanks for stopping by. We will pick off tomorrow. We're leaving off today here. February 1944. Yeah, we might not end the campaign, but we'll definitely make a lot of headway. Maybe it'll end next weekend, the week after, but we'll push towards the end. I don't know what the long-term goal is here. All I can see is that my divisions are further and further away from Rome. With every month that passes, maybe I should stop pursuing the allies into Central Asia and start redeploying troops to the Eastern Front. I'm not sure a few more Italian divisions will make a big difference here. My advantage is, of course, here I can fight the allies and take huge swaths of land away from them with 4 or 5 divisions. But on the Eastern Front, where you have stacks of 6, 7 or 8 divisions in one province, and then you have 6, 7 or 8 divisions in the next province over again, and in the next province over again, it's a lot harder to do anything with only a small number divisions. I think that's probably one of the problems. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. Take care. Have a good night.